Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Hi, all you thought criminals. Welcome back. And those of you that are new, welcome. I'm going to put a short video up here to talk about elections coming up, local, state, and national elections. And not just the midterms for Congress and the Senate in Washington. Also for your state, county, and local elections. A lot went on in 2020 and 2021 from draconian governors, mayors, county executives. And we can go through the list, but they're 99.9% Democrat run, have been for decades. This is a meme that I found. The people who shut down your business and killed your careers are now asking that you re-elect them so they can keep their jobs. Never forget what they've done to you. I was a local businessman for a really long time, over 20 years in upstate New York. I was also a former elected official. I was a city councilman in the early 2000s, so I took an oath. And I took that oath pretty seriously and tried to do the best that I could, taking that oath in 8 years that I was a council member. And unfortunately, I wasn't around. I wish I had been in office during the lockdowns. And I live in New York State, so it was draconian lockdowns, but I'll get into that later. Here's a picture of a gentleman that's fined and arrested and later imprisoned for keeping his business open. Now, it doesn't matter where it is. That's either a sheriff or local police. You guys took an oath. The same oath that I took as a councilman. You knew this was unlawful. You knew you didn't have the authority. I'm just following orders doesn't work anymore. And we all know why. I'm not going to make the comparison. Doing evil, unconstitutional things, you don't have to obey the orders. Well, they're going to say, well, John, they'll find a way to get rid of me. I'll lose my pension. I got a wife, a mortgage, and 2 kids. Well, then so be it. These people only have power is because you exercise their power through the police, sheriff, police, etc., DOJ, FBI. These morons are powerless without you doing their bidding. There's one here. Remember this lady? She was on Fox. She owned a hair salon. She was jailed for cutting hair. And she spent the night in jail. And she raised some funds for the lawyer and bail and all that. Basically, I think she ended up moving out of the state she was in. I forget where it was, but it was a heavy Democrat state and city, so they're all the same as far as draconian lockdowns go. I even heard a story of a lady that had like a antique style shop. And they closed down her business because it was non-essential. Okay. So she sold stuff online, probably on Etsy, probably sold a Facebook Marketplace, wherever it was. So she decided to do a live stream showing products that were for sale in her store. Nobody in the place but her and a camera. And there was a banging on the door while she's doing her live stream. She went to the door, and it was a sheriff's department with several officers, I might add, all heavily armed, saying, you need to shut down. He says, well, sir, I am closed. My store is closed. You're on the line selling goods. She refused, so they arrested her. These authoritarian governors, mayors, county execs only have the authority if you are their henchmen that do their bidding. And as far as elected officials go, there's one picture here, give me liberty or give me death. Lives were ruined, absolutely ruined, forever. I know my business was the last straw. I had a boycott against my business several years because the local progressive office called Citizen Action of New York and an organization called Plot basically boycotted or had a boycott against my business. It was in a low-income area. A lot of New York City transplants were way, way above New York City. And they believed the lies, and it basically ruined a 20-year-plus business that I had, and I had to sell and close. But they closed down these businesses due to COVID. You can see it there. I'm not going to say it out loud because the algorithm will pick it up. Here's one here. Remember this one? I saw the video. This is just a still from it. This is a mother. I don't know if it was a football game or a soccer match. I'm not sure. She was sitting in the stands by herself, and there's very few people in the stands because of COVID, but she wanted to come out and see her kid play soccer or football, whatever it was. And she was sitting up in the bleachers all by herself, by no one, 20, 30, 40 feet in every direction, not a soul. She didn't have a mask on. They asked her to put one on. She said, no, I'm sitting here by myself. I'm not bothering anybody. Go pound salt. And she refused. So you can see the cop here arrested. They tased her. Look at the size of this guy. As you can see, she's cuffed from behind. What a hero this clown is. You should be fired immediately and lose your pension and your health insurance for doing the bidding of these monsters. These monsters now are in charge of Washington. Here's another one. Couple of spots. Just arrested for shopping. And here's the funny part. Most of the people that put up the civil resistance and told them to piss off were women. Whatever happened to the real men in this country? It's the women that stood up and said, no, I'm not doing it. This is draconian. It's against the law. You don't have the authority. Women have this set of balls now with it. It's amazing to me. Whatever happened to the real men out there? So here we are, the picture of voting. Vote like your life depended on it. And whether it's for a city council member, a mayor, a county executive, state level, federal level, New York State Assembly, U.S. Senate, House of Representatives, I'll ask yourself, when these lockdowns were going on, did my representative that's running for re-election say, no, this is wrong, do not do it, and come out publicly and say so? Because the ones that said, well, listen, it's the governor that did this, in my case, New York, Andy Cuomo, we're now in disgrace, he had to resign. It's him, it wasn't me. They had no permission from the legislatures. They did in California, they did in Illinois, they did in New York, and many other Democrat-run states. It was an edict from the governors who had no constitutional authority to do so over a certain period of emergencies. But their legislatures said nothing. So when you go to vote, call the local campaign office. They put out literature all the time how to contact them. And ask them, what are your thoughts on the mayor or the governor closing down most businesses, destroying people's lives? Because what will happen is they'll say, well, it wasn't me. It was the governor. It was the mayor. He just did it. We couldn't stop them. Well, yeah, you could have. Well, what did you do publicly to voice your disapproval? You did nothing. Therefore, I'll never vote for you again. By doing and saying nothing, you are just as bad as the person that was perpetrating the evil on its own citizens. Same goes for law enforcement. I was endorsed by law enforcement every time I ran here locally. I'm a big back the blue guy. Always have been, always will be. And we have a really good police force here when it came down to lockdowns and the draconian stuff, but not all cities did. You know any police officers? You know, a friend of a friend type thing? Ask them directly in a not so much a public setting, but a private setting at a party or just shooting the breeze when you have the same kids go to the same school, and you say, why did the police department lock up innocent business owners? Why they lock up and arrest innocent people just for sitting in bleachers watching their kid play soccer? And if that individual says to you, well, we were given orders. Bullshit. It was wrong and they knew it. They were trying to cover their own ass. Well, I have bills to pay. I couldn't afford to be fired. Da, 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 da. You know what? Grow a set of balls. Grow a spine. And I'm not saying all law enforcement said, oh, okay, I'll just do whatever you tell me. But a large percent did. And that's very, very frightening to me. And before I forget, this also applies to school boards. What did your school board do when your schools were closed down And it wasn't just the governors and the mayors that closed down the schools. It was also the school boards. Ask your school person that's running for re-election on a school board. And don't give it away like you're on which side of the issue. See, I just wanted to know, what were your thoughts on the fact that the school was closed down for a year, and what would you do if that ever happened again? And if their answer is they agree with what happened, just say thank you. Don't even raise your voice. Don't even tell them you're not going to ever vote for them. Just say thank you. I appreciate your input. And spread the word as much as you can that this piece of garbage is going to put our kids in isolation again. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, organize who you can. This person running for election agreed with the lockdowns. And they said nothing when the authorities, state or local, did it. They just sat on their hands with their mouths shut. They're just as guilty. Vote them out. And we go back around again. The only major weapon we have besides the media is voting, especially at the local level, because it's a lot more intimate. You know the people, 99 times out of 10, you know the people involved. You know them personally, you know of them. It's a little different at the state and national level. All these people come from somewhere, whether they be governors, New York State Assembly members, House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate, President even. They all came from somewhere, some low-level elected post when they started their careers in government. Get rid of these people now. Vote them out. And the ones that you know went along with or did nothing to stop the draconian lockdowns and the unconstitutional arrests of tens of thousands of people, organize and make sure they never, ever get to do that again. And I'll leave you with the quote that I started with. The people who shut down your business and killed your careers are now asking that you re-elect them so they can keep their jobs. Never forget what they've done to you and your families and your neighbors and your communities. Never forget. And until next time, goodbye and good luck.